One thing you should definitely keep in mind next time you're working on the color grade for a project is going for an overall look or style before you start coloring. Now, some people, this might be common knowledge. If that's the case, go ahead, turn off the video, it doesn't matter. But if you're not getting a look or a style before you go into your color grade, you probably want to start practicing that. And there's a couple reasons for that. Me personally, what I like to do is even before I shoot, sometimes I will get reference images of kind of the look and feel, stuff that I've seen other people do that I really like, and maybe I want to kind of emulate or put my own spin on it, from a lighting perspective, from a composition perspective, and also from a color perspective. And then when I get that footage and I go into the color grade after we've got the edit mostly locked, pretty close to final, but sometimes I'll even do it on the front end because frankly, I actually like to color and I think it's quite fun to kind of give a feeling to an image. I'll pull those reference images and kind of look at the color that they've done and how can I apply something similar to what I'm working on. And the reason I do this is because I want to get that look kind of set in my mind beforehand of what everything should kind of look like. Because if you just go into your color software and you look at one shot and oh, this goes here, this goes there, okay, that shot's done, go to the next shot, this goes here, that goes there, okay, that looks good, next shot. You can actually start to drift from shot to shot, and hopefully what you're doing is you're comparing one shot to the one prior, but shots are different. They're exposed different, they're framed different. They have so many different, there's so much variety from shot to shot that if you don't have an overall vision of what everything should look like a master reference image, if you don't have that for every shot, what can end up happening is your color can drift. You can end up, just getting too green, too magenta. Your color tones can shift because your eyes actually shift and adjust based on what you're looking at. So oftentimes people will take a break, they'll look at something else, they'll close their eyes, whatever it is, to kind of reset, and then they'll go back. But if you're still going in sequence, like in a linear fashion, start to finish, the difference between what you started at to what you finished at can be radically different if you don't have some overall design guide or look that you're going for. And so that's why I think it's really important. You don't have to go with reference images. You could make your own if you wanted. If you just had an image that you graded and you said, this is the look for this piece, just always have that there. So that way you can compare skin tones, you can compare exposure levels, you can compare the blues. How many different shades of blue are there? How many different shades of gray are there? There's at least 50. But, those are the things that you can kind of focus on and look at that reference master image so that you're applying that to each individual clip and then comparing the clips to each other. I hope that makes sense. I think it's a technique that is pretty common in terms of the people that use it, but I think it's still underused by a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people out there just going with a more straight color correction approach where they're just making each shot look the way they want that shot to look rather than kind of looking at it in context of the greater whole. Because that's the thing, if you go for a really exaggerated look, like something that's super green or super blue or just really underexposed or really overexposed, that becomes normal and that becomes the look of the film if everything matches that aesthetic. If you have a super green shot and then another super green shot and then a kind of not so green shot and then a not so, and it kind of dwindles or it fades or, it shifts to something else, then all of a sudden you're not setting a look, you're just grading each shot the way you want to grade each shot without any adherence to some greater idea or greater look. And when you set that look beforehand, just like you would, write a script beforehand or do all your pre-production beforehand, when you set that going into your color grade, you can come out with the actual look and the intent that you set out to capture and to create. So if you're not doing that, I really stress that you find a way to do that just so that your overall look and aesthetic for whatever the piece is matches. There's more, it's just more cohesive, I think, when you follow that approach rather than just doing it shot by shot. But if you already do this method, then, and you made it this far for some reason, because I told you to stop watching, you made this far, leave a comment, let me know how it works for you, if there's something that I missed, some other advice you'd like to share, because I think it is helpful when we can kind of all add our own 2 cents, add our own input on how we like to do things, and then other people can take that and apply it to their projects or put their own tweaks on it and see what works for them. Me, myself, I've lately switched to Premiere grading inside of Premiere. I was in SpeedGrade for quite a while. Kind of upset that Adobe killed it off, but the stuff that they've done with Premiere in 2017 is actually pretty helpful. Now, the one thing I will say, this is actually a really helpful tip. Maybe I should make another video, but in Premiere, if you have your standard workspace, sorry if this doesn't apply to anyone else, it's just for Premiere. In Premiere, you've got your standard workspace, and there's not an obvious way to pull up the color panel. You can go to Window, and there's an actual color panel that will give you Lumetri color modifications that you can't get anywhere else. I, for the longest time, thought that the Lumetri effect was only modifiable through the effect dropdown itself, and that was so cumbersome and just a nightmare to work with. But there's an actual window. So under Window, under your workspaces, there's a window for the Lumetri color panel, and that's where you can, you have sliders and you've got a lot more control, and it's fast. It's actually really fast, faster than SpeedGrade. If they just made those features in SpeedGrade fast, that would have been awesome, but they didn't do that. Pulled it into Premiere. That's okay. They've still got a little bit more work to do, but it's finally at the place, I think, in Premiere where you can use that as a standalone coloring feature. It's a lot better than it used to be. Still not as robust as DaVinci Resolve, but hey, what are you going to do? So if you need to color in Premiere, definitely do the window drop down, go to color, and it'll open up a whole new world of effects. If you've never seen that, there's actually a workspace for coloring. That's a quick way to get to it. So under workspaces, under your window, workspaces, there it is. You can open that up and actually get all the tools that you need, where, there's the window thing in Premiere can end up hiding some of the things you might want access to. But if you don't use Premiere and use some other coloring method or platform, I'd love to know that too, if there's something else I should check out other than Resolve or Premiere, because SpeedGrade was amazing for what it was and for how I used it. And now Premiere, I'm kind of getting the same flexibility and functionality. I really wish I had all the tools of Resolve, but the workflow and just getting your footage in, and it's a lot slower than I'd like it to be. I wish it was more of like a dynamic link, but again, all topics for other videos. So when you're coloring, get your master look, do each clip according to that master look, and hopefully that gives you the overall look that you're going for.